Let me just check the mic. Hang on. There we go. Right. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Boy, that has been a little bit of a few technical difficulties there. And the screen, yay! Mel Bell, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, well, I'm 10 minutes late. Guys, what can I say? The camera didn't work. I realised I put the wrong information on the broadcast message. David, Jeff, Cristiano, good to see you. Yeah, I am here at last. Whoa. Graham, Mark, your timekeeping is I know is Kirill, Rebus. Well, I thought I'd give myself plenty of time, but you just never know with these things. You load it up and then suddenly there's things wrong, and the stupid little camera won't pick up. Yeah, whew. In fact, I've just run a marathon. How's everybody doing? I know it's an unusual day as well. Saturday. We had the card didn't come till Friday. Ika, good to see you. Leon, daylight savings times caught me off guard. Yeah. The clocks have just gone back. So it is weird. The days seem very long at the moment. Robert, good to see you. Paul, glad to join you. Happy that you're here. Thank you. I'm happy you're here too, Paul. Yeah. So yeah, we didn't go live on Thursday. I want to talk about the frost. Well, it's called the Frost Infection event. Did they go back this weekend in the state? Good question, actually. If we pretend today's Friday, we can have a longer weekend. Yeah. Went back last weekend. Yeah. So yeah, we've gone back as well. I think we're pretty much the same as America on these things. I think. And so didn't have the card on Thursday, so I thought I'd wait. Came on Friday, fairly late, and then my sister-in-law called, and so we ended up going around theirs, and so it's been shifted to today. But it becomes a vlog, so people can watch it back. You hardcore people that come to the stream, you're flexible. I mean, come on, you know what I'm like. I think you were about a week earlier. Yeah, that's probably about right, actually. God, the days still seem really long, though. In some respects, I really like that. In others, I don't. It catches me off guard. And I know that we're going to have long, dark days ahead. Not a big fan of it. I quite like changing of the seasons. And that's probably one of the nicest things about this climate. Having a good... Talaha, good to see you. And Dominic, how are you doing? It's really nice to see the seasons changing, but I'm not a big winter person. I get really bad neck ache when my neck gets cold, and just from all the sport I used to do, and I've actually got a bit of a neck crick at the moment. Now, I'm not complaining. Okay, I just accept it, get on with it, and take some painkillers. It gets dark early, so you yeah, exactly. Daniel, Jeff, good to see you. Howdy. Nigel, good to see you. Anyway, enough of that. But when we lived in Australia for a year, you don't really get any sort of seasonal changes, and that was very strange. Your body, the internal clock, I find, has a habit of sort of it knows when it kind of runs with the seasons, and you kind of have a bit of sense where you are in the year, which is easy to say, but I think internally your body clock kind of latches onto that. Whereas when we were in Australia for that year, it got a bit wet at certain times, but that was very strange. And then very hot at Christmas was really weird. Talaha, 11 p.m. here in Germany. It's been dark for hours. Yes. Well, it's sunny. It's sunny in California. That's good. 2 p.m. Oh, okay. Is it 2 p.m? Blimey. So that means you're 8 hours. 8 hours behind. Okay. Wow. Because it varies, doesn't it, across America? 5:15 in Florida. Guess what I just bought? David says. Toby's the time. I am actually. If you go somewhere like Australia, that's a very weird experience because you lose a whole day because they're like 24 hours ahead. Suddenly you land and you've lost a day. That's a very weird thing. Makes me think of the Superman film where he flies, turns the Earth. For some reason, that's completely ludicrous. But while you're watching the film, because of the pressure moment in the film, you're like, you don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter. Just throw that out the window, and then he's there to save Lois. Yeah. So we're here Saturday, and yeah. I mean, what can I say? Let's have a recap about Postage. Just because this feels like old news now, but all of the packages have been sent. Okay? That's everything. So, for 2D6 Dungeon, Toby should be Dr. I do a better job than the guy at the moment, I'll tell you that much. Talaha, exactly. You believe it. You believe Christopher Reeve. He's just so great. He was just the man of steel, wasn't he? He was good. Indeed, says Mark. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So what was I talking about? Yeah. So Post. So all of that Post is out for 2D6 Realm. Because in case anybody's got any questions, we still get a few people asking, has my package been sent? It has. And if you haven't received your package, then there's a reason for that. And now for the thousands of packages we sent out, we get like a few maybe, they get stuck in customs. So if you are someone who hasn't got your package, then ring customs and check whether they've got something with your address on. It may be that it's lost. We can't afford to track all the thousands of packages that we send. We don't want to up our charges on our postage. So if it's lost and it's been like 6 weeks, you haven't had it, then let us know and we'll sort something out for you. Okay. Now going into Alien Sanctuary. How about Alien Sanctuary here? Just bear with me 1 minute. Bear with me a sec, guys. So, for the other Kickstarters, we've had the Alien Sanctuary books have come in. Our lovely little hardbacks here. You can see those. We've got the paperbacks and we've got the spiral. We've also got Phase 4 here. So we have a most of the stuff. The gold editions are coming on Monday. That's what we've been told. And so I'll be sending those out. There's some special people that are getting gold editions, and those that bought them, of course. We've also had the early bird card, which is going in with those that backed the early bird aspect. Okay, so that was pre-Kickstarter. You could sign up for the early bird form. Don't forget to give some love to. Thanks, David. Yeah, click that. What's it called? The like button, something like that. And yes, teamwork. High five. So all of that stuff is 50% of that is out of the of this, because we haven't got the cards yet. The cards always take longer. We sent them off as soon as we could. Basically, once we got the extra aliens created, and we have sent out the digital files for just about everything now. So the only things we're waiting on is the gold and the cards, which is about half of them, and then once they come next week, then we'll send them out immediately, and people should be getting them very quickly, which is fantastic. So I've got through a really, really intense period of packaging, which is a real relief, because it has completely wiped me out. But this is fine. I'm not complaining. This is just part of running a small independent publisher, games designer company. You have these periods where you do a lot of the physical stuff, and then back to the cerebral kind of designing, which is what I do. And I have been doing some of that, obviously, while I've been doing all the packaging, including some ideas for Christmas and for the winter period. Really, I wanted to celebrate the change of seasons, you know, what we've already been discussing, and I thought it might be quite nice to have an event. It's all a simulation, man. How you doing? Heyo received my laid back items for 2d6 Realms, Spiral Edition, Labels and Realms. It's so nice to lay these out on the table. Yes. Ah, damn it. Yes, that is correct. So, to a certain, there's a good spot. Yeah, that is true, Daniel. You're right. So, obviously, yes, just apply common sense in that situation. Yeah, so we have a frost card, which is basically an event that happens. So a cold wind has blown into the area, and with it comes snow. Ice grips the ground, affecting the top level of the dungeon, drawing out corrupt low magic that infects some of its denizens. The patrols are gripped by an icy rage. The frozen infection event has gripped level 1 of the dungeon. If you roll a patrol, check and instead to see what happens. 1, Frost Medic. 2 to 3, Frost Labourer. 4 to 5, Frost Guard. 6, Frost Guard and Frost Dog. Okay, there is definitely a theme going on here, if you catch my drift, no pun intended. And so basically what these are, it's like the... thank you, David. That's very kind of you. 2d6 books look so nice. Only grab the 2d6 round PDF so far. The books still have to wait. Talahar, no problem, my friend. Whenever you're ready. So it's like a cool event. Well, it's basic. I just thought I love frost. You go out, and if it's a nice sunny day, I'm fine with it. I can deal with a bit of frost during the winter, even if I don't like the winter very much. But the frost itself is so beautiful, and I just thought that could in some way affect the dungeon, because it sinks into the ground, doesn't it? And I was thinking, could that affect anybody moving around? Say if someone was patrolling, they wouldn't be near a fire. They might get, and then introduce the corruption that exists within the land, and the low magic itself. It kind of kicks in and takes this frost. It's like it can kill. You don't want to be stuck outside on a frosty night. And so I thought that it wouldn't be much of a jump to say that low magic could affect it, and then some of the patrols, some of the guards could be affected by these by the presence of it. And so I've done a frost dog and the frost guard, and so I've slightly changed them, and it connects to the blood ritual event. Again, this is something that affects level 1. I wanted it to affect level 1 because it's one of those things you can just pick it up and play a level 1 character and maybe implement these 2 events. You could have a blood ritual event and a frost infection event, and see whether you can survive in the environment. Do you know what I'm saying? So you could have it. This is like, it's more difficult basically because these guys, their stats have been raised a little bit. There's a bit of theme going through some of the damage, and they do more damage. It's not a huge increase because I don't want to make it impossible, but you could come across these guys within the dungeon fairly easily. Now, it's not to say you couldn't use this as well in a lair. Say you could implement this into a lair. You could implement it into the realm if you wanted to. Absolutely no problem. The event is kind of loose in a sense. You could expand it out into some of the other areas and use these guys. These are printed exactly back to back, so you can cut them out and just put them in a sleeve, and then you've got them perfectly fine in the thing. And these are available on our shop. The link is in the description of the video if you want to go and have a look and just check them out. They're like £1.50, something like that. When you think about some of the expense of some of the cards that you get these days, it's nothing really. But it's a nice, fun thing. Richard comes in here. I've only just discovered 2d6 Dungeon. Have been playing D100 Dungeon recently. Can these cards be purchased as a PDF rather than mailing to the other side of the world? I've purchased the base and Realms PDF so far. Yes, they are going on as PDFs. What we'll do is we will put them on probably tomorrow or tonight, but yes, they will be, and I just need to send the files, give the files and the links to Joe to put onto the website. So we will be doing that. They will be there. I'll put a little. We can put. I'll update the video with links to the PDF, so you can always check back and have a look at the links on this video, and you will see that down below we have the links for the digital versions of these as well, which is a very valid thing. And they're really part of this stuff is because it's quite nice, I think, to have kind of nice little separate things that you can add on, additional official products for 2d6 Dungeon. I just thought it's kind of nice, and celebrating the winter. I didn't think we needed something that was Christmas based, because it's a different world. It's a different kind of. They don't in a sense have Christmas in this. They have festivals and stuff like that in Corradine, the setting for a 2d6 Dungeon, but they have winter, and we share similarities. So that's kind of where I was thinking, and what I was thinking when I wanted to do an event. I felt like I wanted to do something for this Christmas period, and I'm kind of waffling now. I know I am, but this is what has come. I just suddenly thought. Stocking stuffers, yeah. I don't know whether you want to stuff this into a stocking, but you could put it into a book, I guess. Oh, thanks, man. Talahar, it's absolutely beauty. You can easily plug in new stuff. Yeah. Well, talking of new stuff, I've started work on Legendary Dungeon, which is the next big project. So we want to try. We may well launch it at the end of November, so it's not long. Thanks, Jeff. It's not long at all. Oh, Nick, did I say hello to Nick? I apologise if I've missed some names here. It's been flying by. Nick, I hope you're well, my friend. And what was I saying? I get easily distracted. And yeah, so Legendary Dungeon is well on the way. Okay, so I basically I've fleshed out a lot of the rules, or additional stuff. It's going to largely be reliant on the 2d6 dungeon system. The system works well, and I'm pleased with the responses we've had, so I don't feel like there's much to change. What the difference is, the Legendary Dungeon, I think, is going to be 5 levels rather than 10 levels. Now, the levels are going to be bigger, so it's rather than having to accommodate all the 10 for this. 10 works really well for the original dungeon. Yes, David, definitely. David, you'll be there, man. Don't worry. You're part of the testing team, whether you like it or not. And yeah, so I'm already fleshing that out, and I need to do that so I can get a grasp on how, when I'm writing the descriptions of the levels, you know, what bearing it has in the overall picture of the dungeon. So there's going to be 5 levels, and so basically you travel to this dungeon that has appeared out of the ground. So I'm not going to give too much away at this point, and Jeff and Mark, Nick and Clive and you guys, and David, I will be sending some stuff to you soonish to have a look at and get your thoughts. But this dungeon is a different feel, a different experience than 2d6 dungeon, the original dungeon. That's a much more conventional. This one is much more interwoven with magic, and things will happen to the dungeon as you explore. Once you go in, there's no going back. And in fact, the dungeon has risen up and taken in there was above on this land, there was a temple and a monastery and some buildings, and they were sucked into the ground as the entrance and the dungeon rose, and it started. Then its influence has polluted the land around, and there's miasma and there's bogs and stuff like that. And you make your way there, and when you go in, there's no coming out. You go into a level, you can't go to the exit shaft and go back to town. Once you're in this dungeon, you are on a journey through that dungeon. There's nothing stopping you. Things are going to collapse, rooms are going to crumble, walls are going to crumble. You are in this kind of strange space, and it's your responsibility as a legend. It's the quest for leg armor. Nice. It's already legendary. It is legendary. It is. It's there. It's code. And you have to go. You go into this dungeon as a legend. So there's going to be quite an extensive part of the book. So you need to be level 10 to explore this dungeon. There's some mothers in this which are big and powerful. And you need to be level 10. Now, you may not have a level 10 character, but there are mechanics in place in the rules so you can generate your character up to level 10 or create a new level 10 character. There's also mechanics in place to give you a fabled weapon and legendary armor, mythical armor. And you'll get that and you'll gain that. So you can play with an OP character even if you haven't reached level 10. But if you have reached level 10 with your character, then how cool is that going to be if you can take that character into this new legendary dungeon and save the realm, save the region? You know, it's exciting, and I just can't wait to tap into the lore of this dungeon and bring it. So my aim is to not reveal too much of the lore. Yes. Well, it's going to be one exciting encounter after another, David. And I think that with this edition, you're going to get the long descriptions. So there's going to be longer descriptions of the rooms, like there is in, say, the Creatures of the Corn expansion, our Halloween special. So you've got these longer paragraphs in this description. So each level is going to have 4 pages of rooms rather than the 2 that was in the original, which was more sort of short, punchy descriptions. Because basically, we kind of know dungeons. We know dungeons. Us people here, me, you guys, we know dungeons. And with the original dungeon, the short descriptions work perfectly fine. And we already had images. But with this, there's more kind of lore to it. So I want to tell that through your experiences in the dungeon, rather than explain it beforehand in the rule book. So you're going to go in and you're going to find out where this power comes, where these creatures come from within. So it's very difficult. I'm trying to hold back a little bit on what's actually the story is within the dungeon, and how you take your character and become the hero and save the land. You know, so it's a step more further. There's more to learn. I say there's more to learn. You're not really going to have to learn a huge amount extra for this edition. You're just going to go in, apply the 2d6 dungeon rules, and you're going to be in there fighting these terrifying creatures. More story, more lore. Yay. Expand the interconnected narrative. Yeah. And there's going to be room, Paul, for you to put your own interpretation on some of this lore as well, which is I'm excited about, because what I love to see is people's stories, how they weave the stories. There's some great stuff on the Facebook. Who is it? Someone's been writing really long descriptions, and there's been another guy putting his stories on Board Game Geek, where he comes out, I can't remember the character's name, and he talks to his mates in the pub about his experiences in the dungeon. How cool is that? That's on Board Game Geek if you want to watch all that stuff, if you want to read all that stuff. And yeah, I'll be interested to see people's interpretation of the story that is woven into Legendary Dungeon. So that's really exciting. And I can't wait for people to see people's reactions to that. And yeah, so there. I mean, so I want to get this card out before we really get into the nitty gritty of Legendary Dungeon, because we've got the Kickstarter coming, and we're going to get some coverage of that and some talking a bit more about it. And yeah, I'm kind of looking in maybe 3 weeks for that. So yeah, end of November, get it going, and then we'll be writing the tables for the dungeon as we move forward. Now, probably and the time scale, I've still got to really look at that, and we'll know more when the Kickstarter launches. It will have details in that, so that's exciting. Ferry Bezelmans has been doing some epic narratives over on the Facebook group. Fantastic point, David. That is the guy that I was talking about. He has been really good. So really pleased with all that stuff on there. It's for how long is it now? A year or two we've had that Facebook page being rammed full of people's stories and posts and maps. It's just such a great resource. It's so exciting. If you're feeling like, I need some inspiration, go there and just see what people do. It is mind blowing. So, and the things that people create, and the tabletop engineer, I'm going to be having a chat with him this coming week, I believe, talking about stuff. Going to be having a little Skype call, so that'll be coming. Keep an eye out for that on his channel. He's been doing some amazing coverage. James has really got his head around the realm rules, which people will find really helpful if you're just getting into that now. So go and check that out. There are some great stuff. We've got the Lone Adventurer has done a couple on the realm as well. Really, some good explanations there of how that works. So that's fantastic. It's that kind of coverage that is really useful for the community. So just bear that in mind. Go out and support these people who do this stuff for our community, which they really do. They're spreading the word. They're fantastic guys. And can't keep up with all the videos. I know the feeling, Jeff. I struggle. I'm struggling to keep up with them. I try and watch the pivotal videos. But part of the thing I have is, while I'm working, I'm doing some designing or doing some artwork or working on some ideas, I'll have some videos playing in the background. If I play videos that are showing the dungeon, people playing 2D6 Dungeon or whatever, whichever one of my games, I just get so involved in it. I'm like, I want to give some feedback and help and support, and so it's kind of, so they're not naturally the things I turn to when I've got one background TV, if you get what I mean. So I kind of get so sort of caught up in it. But I have yet to engage with the landowner part of Realm, but exploring my realm has been great fun so far. Talahar, thank you for pointing that out. You don't have to buy the land or do that side of it. I clearly try and kind of highlight that at the beginning. Don't feel like you have to buy stuff. You don't have to. You can just explore and go out and see what the land is about. Once you've done that, you may find that might be a good way to start, and then you realize, right, I will start to claim some of these. We'll start to take some of these, and these bits of land, build some houses. Then you can kind of maybe work towards readying yourself for the legendary dungeon. Now, I reiterate, you don't have to have a level 10 character to play legendary dungeon. There will be systems by which you can take on a level 10 character, generate a new one, and take that character forward into something sort of more dramatic, more OP. So we'll just see how that handles. And there are new systems for combat, building on what we've got. Although the combat system is great in the way it is, I'm very pleased with it. We will be adding a few bits to that. In fact, it outlines that in 2D6 Realm. But another important thing to note is you will not need 2D6 Realm to play 2D6 Legendary Dungeon. You don't have to have that expansion. You can just have the dungeon and just have Legendary Dungeon together. They work. Insomnia helps, Jeff. That's why I post them up. Oh man. I used to get insomnia. Not anymore. Since I had kids, I learned to sleep better. Before that, I was not a sleeper. And I always find, actually, reading before I go to bed switches my brain off, turns it onto one focus, and then I can find that I can actually get to bed. I can sleep better. So even if it's just a page of that I read because I'm tired, it kind of closes my brain down a little bit, which is fantastic. I was like that when I first started, like a newbie playing Monopoly. I started to buy everything. It's about choosing the right land to add to your realm. Exactly. You've got to look at the interconnectivity of it. Think about that as well. It's time to build up legendary armor and weapon. Yes. Yeah, it is. Oh, Mark. Insomnia is my middle name. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Mine's Arthur. I just happen to be an insomniac. David Arthur Day. That is... I didn't realise you had the Arthurian title there, David. Very good. Will you be releasing a separate PDF? Yes, we will be doing the PDF, like for the Realm cards. Oh no, they're part of 2D6 Realm, Richard. Yeah, they're in the book, so they're not separate at the moment. It's not something that I'm able to do. We did have did someone do the cards? Right. Richard, drop me a you can drop me an email at toby@drgames.co.uk, and I think I may have sent that file out with, I can't remember now, terrible, whether I sent that file out for people with just the cards to print. I may have done. I can't remember. Oh dear. Reading after I go to bed does help. Yeah, I find it helps. I can't get past a paragraph before falling asleep, says Jeff. Yeah. Like the base game comes with the A4 letter. Yes. Oh. It has been great to build a legendary character and explore the realm. Fantastic. Working on my armor and weapon now to use on the legendary dungeon. Fantastic. Well, there you go. 2.6 is keeping me too busy to even start Rad Zone or IST, says Graham. Oh, man. Oh. Yeah, Mark says, I wish to falling asleep after one paragraph. On occasionally, I read a page and I'm nearly asleep. But I do love reading. And there is... It's just... I'm sure the people here love reading. I think it's just part of this community. But I do find that during the day, I find it very difficult to read. I might read a magazine, but I feel like reading is leisure time. And I find it very difficult to give myself leisure time when it comes to these things. I think it's almost a bit cheeky. It's like painting figures. And really, I should look at reading more as an educational thing and read some other bits and pieces that are related to my games and the building and designing of it, and maybe spend a bit of time doing that. Maybe reading about the market a bit, that sort of thing, you know. Talahar says, well, I'm really biding my time until 2D6 Void. I just love sci-fi. Talahar, it's coming next year. Once we do Legendary Dungeon, then we've got 3 core expansions. You've got the 2 core expansions, Legendary Dungeon and Realm. Then you've got the original, and then I want to do Void, which is the sci-fi version. I'm really excited. I love sci-fi. I'm a massive sci-fi fan. Well, I'm really... Oh, yeah, I've read that one. I haven't bought Rad Zone yet. It's on my Christmas list to myself, though. Yeah, it's a real love of mine, Rad Zone. I love that game. I know I made it, but I loved the whole process of making it. I love the world. I love just the... you make something and you really like it, and it's not like a big hit or anything, but it's just dear to you. It's like you may do lots of paintings, but there's only one you really like. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love 2D6 Dungeon, but Rad Zone for me, it was the beginning, really, the beginning of things happening for me, and I kind of think about that with fondness. Not trying to be big-headed or anything. I must admit, though, I bought Rad Zone from Toby at the NEC. I still haven't started it. Yes, and it was nice to meet you, Mark. I've watched Toby's playthrough of Rad Zone. I can't wait to play. Fantastic. Yeah, it was one of those games that it just ended up, when we started doing it, what happened was, as I was designing the rules, I had this thing happened, right, where as I was playing it, I stood back and I looked at the colour grids that were being made on these maps that I'd drawn, and I was like, I just didn't expect it to look beautiful as well as when I was playing it. It was a lovely little side effect. I've had Red Zone for a while and only played it once so far. I really enjoyed it and anxious to continue. It all goes down to finding time. Jeff, yeah, I know, mate, and you do so much for me as well. Don't get sucked into Rad Zone at this point. We got the legendary dungeon ahead of us. First I'm hearing of Void and absolutely love that idea. Cannot wait. We'll be planning a Void version of Realm 2. Will you be planning with space travel, planets, and potentially building customizations? Oh my god, Craig. You just blew my brain. No, I hadn't thought about that. So 2D6 Realm, I've talked about this before, so I won't go over it too much, but 2D6 Void, is basically the image I have is a big space Hulk that is made of 10 levels, and you latch onto the hull and you penetrate the hull, and you have to go down the 10 levels to turn off the reactor or something like that. I'm not quite sure what the goal is yet, whether there is a goal like that. It might just be you have to take the ship down, because it's in the future of Corradine, and there is this is like an alien ship, an invading ship, and Corradine's always had a certain amount of peace, and you kind of I mean, how that would go forward, I really don't know, but Jeff has suggested here 2D6 Void Universe. I like it. Oh my god. I understand everyone's excitement for Void. I was brought up on Space Crusade and Space Hulk and love the grim, dark, claustrophobic vibe. It's going to be amazing. I hope so. Talahar, Rad Zone is so colourful. The played maps look really pretty. Yeah, Talahar, they are. It was such a nice sort of bonus. Craig says, Void planets. Use Realm to plot the landing zone of the planet. You got me thinking now. Got me thinking. Right, okay, well look at it like this, right? Fantasy is much more, it would seem, this is maybe a bit of a sweeping statement, but fantasy is more popular than science fiction. Okay? I think just from everything I've seen, and I've been in this industry for a while now, and just the responses I get to certain products and things, fantasy seems to be more popular. Do people, as a statement, what do people think about that statement? See what you think. See what you think. David's quick with a response here. Slander. Fantastic. Thanks, David. Is it not the case? What do we think? Looking forward to the versions of Gene Stealers or Xenomorphs. Yeah, I know. I've got to come up with my own twist on these things. It just strikes me. So, in my mind, I think it goes in cycles and always lands back on fantasy themes. I prefer sci-fi, says Graham. This is interesting. So I'm going to create the game. In my mind, the game Void is going to be like its own thing. But I very much did that with Dungeon. So it's all about supply and demand to a certain extent. For a small business like mine, I can't afford to spend 5-6 months creating, say, 2D6 universe if no one's going to be interested in playing it. It's really difficult. It's a really difficult thing to decide on doing. You've got to say to yourself, right, this better bloody work, otherwise if I say for half a year I don't make any money, then that's it. If it comes down to the fact that people don't want to back the project, then we'll see. I mean, so I have to keep an eye on it, so I get one chunk of money. I've always been a big fantasy guy, says Nick, but can occasionally dip into well-made sci-fi. I never see myself long-term in sci-fi. I kind of get that vibe. Start with Void and see how it goes. Yeah, exactly. I will do. I'm excited about Void and what it can pose. Now, the thing about sci-fi is there's definitely much more use of range weapons in sci-fi, isn't there? So, doing a bow in a dungeon, you don't really see that much unless there's someone standing back and they're firing from a distance. And because you're solo, it doesn't really count. But if you're solo in a sci-fi version, you're going to pull out your laser pistol and shoot someone, aren't you? So I need to think about how that's going to work. So we're going to think about ranged weapons as well with the sci-fi. So there's going to be quite a bit of work to try and make that work, and then how these other things come together within it. It's going to be exciting. I'm really kind of looking forward to doing that. Now, obviously, I can't allow myself to think too much about that at the moment because I'm working on Legendary Dungeon. But I want to throw something else in the mix here. Reba says, love sci-fi and grew up reading tons from the 70s on. Yeah, I've read a lot more sci-fi than I have fantasy. So I'm a big Arthur C. Clarke fan. I love the Rama books, for example. Just fantastic. And Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars trilogy. Just mind-blowing. Read it numerous times. I love all that stuff. But I'm a big horror reader as well. I love reading horror. So, yeah. That's why I love doing the Halloween specials. Like the Halloween, like the Creatures of the Corn or the Haunted House. I've read more sci-fi books. Love Harry Harrison. The Death World, and I love Harry Harrison. I've read a lot of his stuff. So you could do mini expansion for a fantasy version of Universe, but with portals or other realms where the realm can turn fairy or toxic, fiery or toxic, adding new hazards, unique enemies, and dungeon tables. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Craig, and don't get me wrong. I would love to do that, but you are looking at the one person that does all of that work, and it's like it's intense. The tables, putting it all together. So I kind of have to prioritize. So I'm doing Legendary Dungeon, then we're doing Void. We'll assess it at that point, and we will like, how popular was Void? What did the Kickstarter make, for example? So if the Kickstarter makes half of what Dungeon makes, then I've got to like weigh up. I'm probably going to do another Dungeon one. It's about demand and making my company exist, and function. So unfortunately, I know. I'm loving your thought pattern, Craig. It's good. Graham says, love Arthur C. Clarke, but also Michael Moorcock. Yeah, I've never got into Michael Moorcock. People tell me, but I'm not into. I sometimes find it difficult reading the sort of schlocky fantasy stuff that is a sort of a bit over the top. I'm a bit more sciencey, a bit more kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's just the literature that I was exposed to as I grew up. I love Dragonlance. I loved all those. I loved the Dark Sun books. I love all that stuff as well. It's difficult. Love the Dune book. I've read Dune, but I haven't read the other books. Tales from the White Hart, Arthur C. Clarke. Yes. No, I don't know those ones. My favourite is Dune. Yes, says Rebus Christopher Boyne. More 2D6 dungeon. Thank you, Christopher. Completely understand. Game design is not easy, and we are a hungry audience. Craig, that is fine. Keep that appetite up, I say. Plus, Rad Zone expansion would be good. Yes. Yeah, I know. We did have a Rad Zone expansion in the works. I don't know what the status of that is at the moment, but there may be some more news on that in the new year. I wish someone I wish someone would make a Hawk Moon movie. Yeah. We want more fantasy movies. Just full stop. I love watching Conan, all those other classic kind of fantasy 80s movies. Just, I love all that stuff. I love it. Gotta head out. Have a good... thanks, Nick. Take care, my friend. Thank you, incidentally. Red Sonja's fantastic, David. You know it. Nick, incidentally, thanks for those heads up. Vital. I love the fact you do that. It's really useful for me, by the way. So, keep it up. Thanks, my friend. Yeah. So, the other thing I want to throw into the mix is I want to do a Goblin Ancestry dungeon. So that's quite a big thing. So we've got the Human Ancestry dungeon. I want to just drop in. I want people, in a sense. I want there to be like 5 or 10 ancestries that people can just pick up and play a Goblin Ancestry dungeon. Or an undead ancestry dungeon. I don't know whether that is an ancestry. Or just a monster dungeon. It could be anything else. That's what I want to do. Christopher said yes. Bo says yes. Paul, yes. Exactly. See, that was a yes. Quick responses. And that is what I want to do. I want to do the Goblin Ancestry. That's the next one. And I'm excited about developing what goblins are in my world. Yes, Talahar, exactly. Well, you'll get a range of goblins, but they're not called... What did I call them? I think I maybe have gone with just goblinoids as the kind of the parent name, if you like, and then there's going to be a series of goblins, and we've got some history already written for the goblins, so, and how they fit into the world, because goblin, I think, is a beautiful term, and that sounds weird, but I think goblin represents something in society. It represents gremlins, something irritating, something that kind of sneaks up on you or infiltrates, you know. And I think as a term goblin, it has a universal feel. It's an ancient term. These goblins have been around for centuries in literature and in fairy writings, and you can some people think of them as like imps, some people think them bigger, some people think them as like Gollum. You know, I'm interested in that. Goblinoids, indeed, Talahar. Thank you. So we will see. I'm excited about developing that and developing a whole new card set for that as well, which I think will tick a box that people are interested in. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. So as I said before, it's Legendary Dungeon, which we're working on at the moment. We've done the Frost event card for Christmas. We'll be launching the Kickstarter in the next few weeks. And then we will have a period, probably 6 months, where we work on that, or depends what we'll see. I'll try and get it done sooner than that. And then that will be released in the summer. People get their books in the summer. And then going into autumn, we were going to be looking at doing Void. And seeing that's the next. That'll be the big break from the dungeon, in the sense it will be the sci-fi element. So that's kind of where we're going at. Sounds like you're talking about my ex-wife. Oh no, David. And you can expand on the other player ancestries. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely. You got it right there, Jeff. They're going to have a big part to play in this. So. See you later, Rebus. Are you saying see you later, or you saying to someone else? What are the differences between Void and Dungeon besides the genre? So, good question, Bo. So, Void is going to be in the future, sci-fi based. We're going to have a Hulk ship. So, it's going to be a big, massive ship that has. This might change, okay? A ship that has appeared in the Corradine system, and I think there may be a slight technological difference between the Corradines and the aliens. The aliens may be slightly more advanced, but you still are in a position where you've got technology where you can get up to the ship and get into the ship and try and infiltrate before maybe they invade Corradine and take it down. So if you can't defeat the Hulk in space, this massive 10-level spaceship, then it could be the end of Corradine. So that's kind of it. The difference is physically playing. I don't know quite yet. I haven't, because as I say, I'm working on Legendary. I don't quite know the mechanics, but as I was mentioned earlier briefly, the chances are we're going to be looking at say, energy weapons, different technologies. It's always it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because sci-fi can mean many things, but energy weapons, I think, is going to be kind of like the main concern. So how does that fit in? Most of the rules of combat be the same. Exploring the dungeon levels will probably be the same. It will be ported across. Whether it exists as a game in its own right, I'm not sure yet, or whether you need to buy 2d6 Dungeon to play it. I'm not sure. It might seem, if it's using a lot of the same rules, it might seem a bit ridiculous to have to reprint the same stuff in the book, but it may have different context. We'll just have to see. It's going to be, I don't know yet. Well, we'll have to have a see and see. But that, as I say, I don't want to think too. See, you got my brain thinking there. That's the problem. I can't start thinking about it because then it lingers and it takes up some of my grey matter. It is still early days, Bo, but it's exciting. I'm just privileged to be in this position where I can just do this, just create. I'm just so lucky. I mean, I've worked hard for it, but things still have to go your way. Theme is a big thing for immersion, though, so it would be nice to have a sci-fi rulebook. Oh, we'll have a sci-fi rulebook for sure. Oh yeah, I mean, it's not just going to be a port, if you like, from the 2d6 Dungeons. It'll be different rules, but the combat rules will probably be similar. Well, they will be similar because that's kind of like one of the things about the game. But I've talked about this before. For a company, you can't rely on one product. So I am keen to work on other games. As I say, we've had I've done some small games. This one was obviously Alien Sanctuary, which is available on our shop, drgames.co.uk. Is a small sci-fi game where you manage a sanctuary. I had a lot of fun making this, and I will be doing other games as well within the physical limits of what I'm able to do. But I do want to create another big product. Yeah, Craig says, too many ideas flying about weapon types now. Energy bypasses some armor but less damage. Solid bullet weapons, more damage but need a skipped turn to reload and can jam on fumbles. You see what I mean? I'm gonna have to do some serious. It will be stripped back. You don't want to make these things too complicated, but this is what I'm going to have to think about. So if they've got energy weapons, they can have, bullet weapons. So you're right. There's a how do we deal with that? So I think maybe my camera's a bit shiny. No, that's no good. Let me just turn this off back here. Might be better. I'm not sure. Space leg armor. Maybe that's better. Who knows? Anyway. Yeah, so there is... I've talked about a skirmish game that is... It uses figures, miniatures. But, I've been learning a lot about that. And it was a real eye-opener when I went to UK Games Expo. From one year to the next, the increase in figures was mind-blowing. Miniatures, companies doing miniatures. It blew my mind, and I was like, hang on. I don't really know what I'm talking about here. I've played miniature games for many, many years, but looking at this market, I know the solo player market and the kind of the small press market. But seeing this, I was just blown in. It scared the bejesus out of me. I was like, whoa, am I going to commit some of this precious time that I have to developing a miniatures game? Well, I did. And I've put it to one side now because I do this sometimes with games. I'll create a game and put it to one side and I'll come back to it a year later and have a look at it and see what I think. But through all this process, yeah, home resin printing changed the game for sure. Bo, you're not wrong. And I've talking to some people, they've purchased like 10 printing machines and have them running 24/7, churning out miniatures, and I'm like, oh my god, where are we at with this? What is this? What is happening? It doesn't seem to be stable. I'm like, this is a really risky thing to get involved with. So I stepped back and I thought, well, hang on a minute. Let me just see what Tanahar says here. Yeah, I've bought IST, have yet to play and look forward to Alien Sanctuary, but yeah, diversify your portfolio. I think you've got to diversify, but those Alien Sanctuary and IST, they're like little kind of projects I care about. But I want a bigger IP. I want something that's bigger. Something like 2D6 Dungeon. And because to sustain this company for the long run, I need another big product. I just do. I feel like I'm lucky 2D6 Dungeon taps into a concept which is evergreen. So I think people are always going to be interested in what 2D6 Dungeon can bring. So that is basically why we can keep going, because I was lucky enough to hit on this and it worked, and I need something else. But I was thinking about the skirmish aspect, and I'm interested in that side of things. I think nice streamlined miniature agnostic skirmish rule sets from you would be awesome. Bo, I'm working on that anyway. That's potentially what I've done. I want to bring something new to the scene, but that is further down the line. What I was thinking was a game where you manage I'd say warband, but more like a constable's posse. And I know the constable comes up in my books. Now, this wouldn't be part of 2D6 Dungeon. As I say, I need a different IP, I need a different product, in a sense. And I want to be able to do that anyway, as a creative person. And I was thinking, if you had a posse. Now, posse as a word is not great. Guild management. That's a good idea. Guild. Yeah. A group of people, okay. A posse, a guild, mercenaries, yeah. Good thinking, Mel Bell. The steampunk world. Well, I'm still thinking that is quite niche. Do you think steampunk is quite niche? I'm thinking maybe fantasy again. Have a fantasy world or medieval fantasy world type situation where you manage a group of, say, 5 people. One of them's the leader, and yeah, posse has a world, but posse, posy, other words that sound like it. You know, you have to be careful what you pick and what people read and what they look up. It does have a Wild West. I like the Wild West flavour. Yeah, it's tricky. But you basically have these people, and although with 2D6 Dungeon, the characters minimal. It's designed to be that way. The stats for it. I didn't want to have a list of 10 stats for it, but for this, I was thinking, imagine if you have a character. Each character has 30 stats. Now, stick with me here. Maybe there's like core stats and then there's sub stats. Now, there are games that do this, but you could do events and change these stats and pay stuff and change these stats within the characters, and then you get an event that then they have to go and fight. Now, rather than lay down miniatures on a grid and count them out and roll dice. I've really gone off rolling dice for miniature games. I just think there should be another way of doing it because it's so random. I watched playthroughs on YouTube. I quite like watching miniature playthroughs. I watch it, and there's a sod off guy who's super powerful. He's got 6 dice. He rolls 6 dice. He gets 1 hit, and there's like another guy who's like pathetic, and he gets a hit and he damages this guy substantially. The reality of it is that for me happens too often in miniature games, and I just feel like that shouldn't happen. Yeah, you're right. You're kind of like that, but you're given missions whereby you need to go and sort out a party, some raiders at a farm, or there is a group of it would be a different world, different setting. So a group of some wild animals have ransacked somewhere, and you've got to go and sort it out, or the sighting of a posse, and you've got to go and confront them. But rather than setting out these figures, you would carefully try and manipulate stats within your characters, and then you'd roll on tables, okay? You'd be then presented with a situation where you had to manage you had to take one of these special stats and compare that to something else. So based upon you training up your people or gaining experience, it would then have an effect. Now, I know this sounds complicated, but I'm thinking that it combines skirmish, it combines D&D, it combines like a quest board, card-based. Well, it would be journal-based. So basically you'd have like a management book of your people, and then with that you'd have like a training book, which would be like a tables codex, and you could you'd roll or you'd spend, and you'd get access to training, and it would up their stealth or something like that, and then you'd up that a point, and you'd carefully manage it, and then you'd go into encounters. This is just an idea. So it would ultimately, good question, Jeff. It would ultimately be solo. This is kind of where we're coming at, but with multiplayer ideas. Bo, thank you. I love this totally original. Well, it's always difficult, isn't it, to say whether something's totally original or not. But I haven't heard anything like this before. But the reality of it is, if in real life I had to go and I had to take, say, 3 people to go and deal with some thugs who had kidnapped some old lady, I don't know, some young lady, and I would be like, right, hang on, guys, have you got the equipment? We need to know the layout. We need to know where we're going. Do you know these people? It would be like inside knowledge. There would be, and it would improve my chances if I understood that and whether they were any better at that. And then get to the situation like we do with the dungeon. You roll on some tables maybe, and you can adjust it. So it's not just about chance. You can influence it. You've got power over the situation. It could be a bank heist. You're right. Mel Bell says, if you keep it pretty generic, people can flavour wherever they want. That's a good point. They could have a biker gang or a crew of small spaceship. That is a really good idea, actually. That's a bloody good idea. Mel Bell, you are very smart. I've not heard of anything like this before. Bo says, bank heist. I love that. Yeah, indeed. Hearing this, nothing similar comes to mind. Talahar, thank you. Well, this is just me. This is what I do. This is what I would like to play. This is one of my theories, one of my philosophies, is when I'm designing something, I want to design it so that I can then play it and be excited by it. And I want it to be real. I want it to feel real. I want lots of options, lots of multiplayer options, lots of tables, lots of ways of making things unique. And I kind of think that if you did this, it could be a steampunk crew, it could be a biker crew, it could be something in the apocalypse. So, like Ocean's 11, fantastic, yeah. The trick is finding something that is unique and simple, even if it is using themes that are currently done. Your shift mechanic is unique for combat. Thanks, Jeff. I like the heist idea. Yeah, me too. Separate genre flavouring books. Yeah. That is a good point. You could lay down like a core system. What's it called? System. I've forgotten the word now. System organic? No, system. Toby, your head is full of creative ideas. I'm jealous. Graham, story of my life. Yeah, I'm going to work on this. It's growing in my mind, and I'm like, this could be the next one. This could be the next thing. This could be the next thing. So I'm excited. It might not be. It might not be. You know, I often think my games are going to be... although, having said that, I kind of knew that IST and Alien Sanctuary would be quite nichey, and it is partly because they're science fiction. Whereas this system... Oh, what's the... It's coming to... Agnostic. Thank you, Teller. System agnostic. Yes. We need a game set in prehistoric dinosaur days. Well, we could have, if it's system agnostic, you could be taking a bunch of cavemen on a raid to get some giant dinosaur eggs. Oh, time traveling paleontologists. That is awesome. Yeah, you might need... Yeah, you need separate books, maybe for little guides for stuff like that. Yeah. That is a good... Wow. Doctor Whoasaurus. Oh, man. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. There's lots of things buzzing around. But I feel like this has been a bit of a kind of a step in the right direction. We've got all the postage done. There's some Alien Sanctuary to do still. It's not too bad. I've got this out of the way because this was in my mind as well. We've got a whole bunch of other bits and pieces in my life out of the way, which is nice. And now it's just clear path to Legendary Dungeon. I can work on that, and that's exciting. I'm looking forward to getting that. We're basically making a Doctor Who team now. Yeah. So that's like one of the big things in my mind, and the way that I work this, I think this is a really good tip if you're looking at being a creative and living that life, is learning how to keep an idea in your head and mull it over. Return to it. It's like a little file of facts in your head. If you've got an idea, and this is one of the big leaps forward for me as a creative, was recognizing that I could develop things in my head without having to write much down at all. I used to live in fear of forgetting ideas, and I still have a book that I write everything down in, any new ideas, but the main core of stuff, like this idea, the system agnostic rules for running these posses, it's just growing up here. I just think about it now. Just sit there. Before I, maybe in bed, I'll be lying there thinking, right, how can I evolve this idea? And things pop into my mind when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning. Mutants! Well, now that would be a special expansion. But that would be fun to do. Superheroes. Yeah, the Fantastic Four, for example. Well, that's another thing. I would love to do a superhero game. You could just say crew. Yeah, crew. Crew, again, I that's a great word. Yeah, apocalyptic. Yeah, definitely. Caveman crew. Caveman crew. Nice. Yeah, crew is good. Again, crew also kind of sums up a little bit of the pirates type feel. You can have some pirates. I do love pirates, so there's so much stuff I'm into. Big Fantastic Four fan. So yeah, Talahar, I'm with you. It's going to be interesting to see what the new film's like. I want to lead a team of sled dogs, but when we get to our destination, they are actually werewolves that are my crew. Nice. Rich, how you doing? Hey Toby, sorry if I've missed this info, but are the variant cards available as digital download and or shipped physically as already cut cards? Love the game and can't wait for what's next. No problem, Rich. At the moment they're available as physical. We're going to get the digital up on the site tomorrow. So I will put a post on the Facebook page, and then I will also drop the link into this video. At the moment in this video, there is the link for the card itself to be posted. So, but we will put the digitals up as well. So, yes. It will be there. Good question, Rich. They will be available. Middle-aged nerd gang, and Mark gets the name right. Grognard gang. Slaughtered in the first fight. Team, company, squad. Yeah, it could be anything. Team sounds sporty. Company sounds industrial. Squad sounds militaristic. It's going to be a word. I'm going to hear it. Do you think you could do more of these types of events? These cards? Nigel, is that what you're talking about? Yes. To be honest, yes. I do want to do more of these. A thesaurus, yes, Melbar. I love a good thesaurus, and I do access that site to help. Part of the creative process feeds in words. I also access Google Translate for words as well. That's a fantastic resource. Seeing words in other people's languages it fills me with excitement. I'm always like doing that tapping stuff. Like, say for example, I use some Romanian words in some of the descriptions for some of the monsters in 2-6 Dungeon. So yeah, lots of little things like that really kind of feed into design, and it's an age-old process. It's a really good thing to do. Yeah, so I am going to do some more of these. I'm always very conscious about releasing products. I don't want to make it look like I'm trying to milk people for more things, like suddenly, bang, 10 cards, buy them all. No, okay, I'm very busy, so it's difficult to do that sort of thing, but I like to try and put a bit of meaning behind it. But I am thinking about doing some more of these. They're postcards. They're nice collectible things. You can put them in a folder, and I quite like this format. So I'm thinking about doing some more, and we'll have different coloured ones. Obviously, I do love a different colour, and yeah. Paul. Mini standees are more useful for tactical games as opposed to narrative journaling games. Indeed, Paul, that is a good point. So this would be a narrative journaling game with some management. But your characters would grow and you could develop stories around the characters. And there'll be options about developing personal life stories for each character so you get to know them. It's almost like you're beginning... There are always filmic elements to what I do. I studied I studied film originally, film design. So I did film design in St Helens up near Liverpool, and then I worked at Elstree Studios. Before I went, about 5 or 6 years later, I then went on and did an art degree. Then I did an MA, and then went on to do the doctorate. Although I didn't finish a doctorate. So I spent a lot of time in education, but the filmic background is there. Okay, so I kind of think of the narrative as in looking at the characters. So if you're watching a film, you want to know about that person, don't you? You want to know more about them. The better the film, the more likely you're going to feel attached to that character, and that's what I want to try. I want to nurture that in this new game, you know. And yeah, that's kind of what. Looking forward to the Killer Easter Bunny event card. Fantastic. Yeah. Craig. The Rabid Hair event. I just got my Humble Art Foundation. I did love it though. Oh my god. I was lucky enough to do an art foundation course. So back in the 90s. The best thing that they cut out of it. It was such a good thing to do. Such a great transition to doing higher education. So I was lucky to do one of the last ones that was available. They do like foundation degrees now, which have that in, but it's not the same. It was strictly art focused, so it's fantastic. Yeah, you and me, foundation buddies. Yeah, so it's the filmic element for me. So you'll see there with these designs, I'll try and introduce the narrative. Is about the story, it's about the film, it's about the telling of it, you know. So that's really important. 2001. So I did my foundation course. Foundation. I think it was a BTEC foundation in art. So that would have been 1993, something like that. 1994. Develop each character's personal story. Complementary mix and match teams. Yes. Yeah. And so I'm looking at this, how I can work this, how these characters can develop. And you know, it may be that they could even be taken into, people would use that as a foundation to developing characters for other games. Who knows? Just I was 10 then. Well, I'm slightly older than you. Not too much. For all of my youthful energy, I'm older. It's craziness, really. Yeah, so fantastic. Yeah, I think that's probably good. Unless anybody's got any questions, I think we covered it. So, we have this new event card, the Frost Infection event card, and it is there if anybody wants it. We'll put the digitals up, put the link on the website, and we'll be done. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed. I was going to talk about it was good brainstorm. I was going to talk about coming to America, because we're looking at coming over to America next year and looking at San Francisco. That's what I said, wasn't it, Jeff? And but I'm tired now, so there's a good chance that anybody tells me stuff, it's probably not going to stay in this tired brain of mine. So we'll discuss it next time. I planned some stuff out. The Jeff's told me about the redwood forests over there, near there, and that would be spectacular. I'd love to go to see the redwood giants, and the Golden Gate. Is it Golden Gate and all those things? Then move up the coast a bit, and I don't know. Where's the Grand Canyon in the scheme of things? We need to talk about this, but I can't talk about it now because I'm tired, and we got some lovely Americans on the channel here, so you guys can advise me on how that all works. No problem. Yeah, I likely will. I'm rather inclined to go over to the hot part of the country, to be honest. So anyway, there's other reasons for me wanting to go in that direction. All right, guys, you take care. I am going to bed, and yeah, we can. I'll be on the socials during the week as normal. Email me at toby@drgames.co.uk if you've got any questions. There's there's the list for there's the link for this card there. Yeah, guys, thanks Mark, thanks David, thanks Jeff, thanks Paul. You guys are solid. I will catch up with you very soon. Take care.